Alright, and welcome back to another hacking tutorial from Stealth Data 0. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Phantom Evasion plus NXCrypt to create even more undetectable payloads. I'm doing 3 sets of videos with NXCrypt, one with just a regular msfvenom payload, one using the Phantom Evasion payload, which comes with encoding on it, so the shellcode itself will be encoded and then wrapped into a layer of encryption, which will make an even more undetectable payload. And then I'm going to show you how to take the FUD Python backdoor payload that I showed you guys how to code a while back and encrypt that, and that will be 100% undetectable. I tested it on no distribute, and it came up 100 out of 100, no antivirus, paid or unpaid, detected it because I coded it myself. And like I said, coding your own payloads is the way to go if you want to make a truly undetectable payload. And then of course encryption is another way to go. So this is going to take the first NXCrypt video. We just used a basic msfvenom payload, no encoding, and then added the encryption on it, and it still bypassed antivirus. This is going to be even more undetectable because the shellcode is going to come with encoding on it, and then it's going to have a layer of encryption. Now, encoding and encryption is different, so just make sure you keep that in mind. If you don't have Phantom Evasion or NXCrypt, go ahead and check out my other videos. It shows you how to install and use these tools. So we're going to go ahead and fire up Phantom Evasion. We also need our internal IP address, so ifconfig, and that's the IP address we'll use for our L host. And then we're going to do service Apache to start our Apache server. That's how we're going to transfer our payload. Okay, so Phantom Evasion makes undetectable or nearly undetectable payloads for all of these types of devices, and I have videos on all of that. We're going to be using the Windows module number 3, and then you need to use the Python Meterpreter. So this makes an exe file that can be ran on Windows without having Python installed, but we're going to be using the Python file because NXCrypt works specifically with Python files. So we're going to type 3, and as you can see, this module uses Python's Metasploit payload, so it's an msfvenom payload to execute and avoid inside most AV sandboxes. Memory allocation and managed by the Python interpreter. It's going to use base 64 encoding and then add some junk code to it. So it's going to have some junk code to hide it, and then have base 64 encoding to hide the shell code. So we can go ahead and press enter. We understand that. Always use HTTPS payloads for maximum undetectability. First of all, it's more professional during a pen test. Second of all, it will help avoid network sniffers or system admins that are monitoring the traffic, because HTTPS is encrypted, and it will also help you bypass antivirus even more, because antivirus can pick up on the traffic coming from the shell, and if it's encrypted, it's a lot harder for the antivirus to do that, and it's a lot harder because it's HTTPS traffic, which is normal traffic, and it will help blend into the network. Also use reverse payloads and use port 443 to bypass firewalls, because what happens is the shell code actually comes out of the network instead of going in. So even if port 443 is filtered, you will still be able to bypass it with a reverse payload. But just to show how good this payload is, we are going to just use the reverse TCP for the demo, but for max evasion, use the HTTPS payload. Windows Defender is on the target Windows device, and Malwarebytes as well. Lhost needs to be your public IP address if you're doing it remotely. If you're using NGRock, then you need to use the NGRock's tunnel IP address, or you can use the internal IP address, which we found with config to hack over the same internet, the same Wi-Fi. So ifconfig. We're gonna get NXCrypt started up here as well. So we just need to change that folder and use port 443 for, like I said, for maximum results for bypassing things like firewalls. And we're just going to let the shellcode generate. So while the shellcode is generating, we're going to go over to Metasploit, which we can simply start by typing msf console in the terminal, or clicking this M down here. You also want to do service PostgreSQL start when using Metasploit. That's because Metasploit uses the PostgreSQL service database. So we're going to use our multi-handler. So we need to load that up and let that load. It just takes a second. And now if you're using reverse HTTPS, then you need to use that as your payload, but since we're using the reverse TCP, we're just gonna use that as the payload. So basically you're entering the same settings as the payload. So we use the Python meterpreter with the reverse TCP, so we're gonna go ahead and use that. It's always your internal IP address using the L host on the multi-handler, even if you're doing it remotely, and then the port is the same port as when you used when making the payload. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit exploit, because you always want your listener ready and listening before you send out your payload. Okay, so the file's name, we're just going to name it Phantom. Again, if you're doing this in real life or a real life pen test, you would want to name it obviously something more along the line of social engineering, like py installer or something like that, because it's a Python file. So we're going to go ahead and let the shellcode generate, and this will just take a second, so we'll be right back with that. Okay, so you can see that the executable is saved in the Python folder. We're not really worried about the executable, so that's fine. And I would like to mention that most of the Phantom Evasion payloads have a persistence function built into them. So if you ever lose your shell, just turn your multi-handler back on, and it will continually call out for a shell for you, and you'll get your shell back. Especially for the Android payloads and the Windows payloads. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and press enter. We're done with Phantom Evasion. We can go ahead into our folders, in our Phantom Evasion folder, and pull out the Python file. We don't need the exe file, so we're just going to get rid of that. So let's go to Phantom Evasion. Here's the exe file. This is also a payload that you could use. It's pretty undetectable, but it's been detected a lot. I would say Windows 7 and 8 you'll be fine. Unpatched versions of Windows 10 you'll be fine, but fully patched versions of Windows 10 you'll probably run into problems. So we're just going to get rid of that, move that to trash, and it's an exe file. You can use that. Now, Python is great because it can run on any OS. It runs on Macs, Linux, Unix, Windows, all of that. But Windows, it has to be installed. So either you as the attacker has to install it, or it has to be installed on the system for this to work. But you'll find in most pen test cases that Python will already be installed on the device. System admins often install other languages on their systems and other tools on their systems as well. So we're going to go ahead and cut this and move this to our encrypt folder or NXCrypt folder. And like I said, there's going to be 3 versions of this video, one using a basic msfvenom Python payload, no encoding. This one using the Phantom Evasion, which is going to be a lot more less detectable. And then we're going to do the ultimate video using the FUD Python custom backdoor that I created that already has a very, very, very high undetectable rate. It bypasses Casper key and all kind of paid antiviruses, and then we're going to add encryption to that as well. So keep your eye out for those videos. And again, you can use any Python payload. The more undetectable it is normally, the more undetectable it'll be when you use encryption. When you're trying to avoid antivirus, the best things to do is code your own payload and then also use ciphers, or otherwise known as encryptors, and encoding helps as well. And then of course HTTPS to hide the traffic. Alright, so if we hit ls, we can see that our file is going to be inside of the encrypt folder as phantom.py. So we can go ahead and use the syntax to start encrypt. So that's Python, and then start the program. Then tac file equals the file name that you want to encrypt, and then the output is the output name that you want the file to be named after it's encrypted. Before we do that, we're just going to take a brief look at the code of the Python folder before we encrypt it. And as you can see, it has base 64 encoding right here. And if you look at a regular Python MSM payload, it does not look like this. It's just 2 lines, and it's not encoded or anything. And this one, as you can see, has base 64 encoding, and most of it looks like gibberish, which is what it should look like because of the encoding. Now, encoding and encryption are 2 different things, so just make sure you keep that in mind and don't get those mixed up. And if we just look at the other folder, you will see that the other folder after the encryption is added, you will see that it is completely looks like gibberish, and that's exactly what we want. We want everything to look exactly how it does right now. All of the code is complete gibberish, and this is what it looks like now that it's wrapped with the encryption. So we have the encoded version right here. This is what we started with the base 64 encoded added by Phantom Evasion, and then once we ran it through encrypt, we come out with this, which is completely unreadable, and that will help it bypass antivirus. And this is the encryption and work. So this is what we want, and now we will move on and deliver this to the victim device. Get this rolling here, so we're going to go ahead and hit enter. As you can see, encrypt does its thing very fast, and we have our encrypted file right here. If we hit ls, we can see that now right here. We can go ahead and move that to our Apache server. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one, move the trash, and then we're going to go to encrypt and copy this. Your Apache server is in other locations: computer, then var, then www, then HTML, and then you can deliver payloads by downloading them. Also, you can make websites and host them from there as well. Your Apache server is a great way to transfer payloads and use social engineering to get people to download your payloads. Okay, so let's go back over to Metasploit. We're going to go to the attacking box and open up the browser and go to my Apache server. We're going to download NXCrypt. Malwarebytes and Windows Defender is on. I can't take a screenshot. Normally I do that to show you guys, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. But if you go ahead and run this through no distribute and test it yourself, you'll see that it's very good at being undetectable. So we're going to go ahead and run the file. It's just going to take a second because Phantom Evasion payloads tend to take just a second to connect, just because of the junk code and the way that they're built. So we'll just wait here for a second, but we will gain a shell here in a moment. And as you can see, the shell has already been gained, and we're good to go. And as you can see, it's already doing the persistence methods, sending out multiple multiple stages, trying to reconnect back to me. Okay, and as you can see, we have multiple sessions open here. So you can go ahead and either wait for your interpreter session to open, or you can just simply hit Control C, type sessions, and you can see that you have multiple sessions open. And then to interact with that session, you can just type session tag I, and then the session ID number, which is right here, located right here, and that will open up that session. And then you can hit the help list, and as you can see, you have the full Python Meterpreter commands, and of course you can upload different types of malware and stuff like that, and do all of the cool things that a Meterpreter session allows you to do. So we're going to go ahead and close that out. We're going to go and run the payload one more time. And as you can see, it automatically tries to connect each time. That's the persistence feature built in to these payloads. So if you lose your shell, you don't have to worry about if you lose your shell and you didn't get to set up persistence, you don't have to worry about not being able to get back in, which is one of the worst things for a pen tester, trying to get into a system and then having it boot you out and not being able to get back in. And if we just go ahead and check out these sessions, TAC I-18, we can see that we have the Python Windows Meterpreter here. And we can type the help list. And we have more commands. We can do sysinfo. And you can see that it's an up-to-date version of Windows 10 with the Python/Windows Meterpreter. And again, this could be /Linux/Unix/ whatever, or the stock Python/Python Meterpreter. But once it has the correct OS, it will give you a lot more commands that you can do. And then you can of course download files. If you can drop into a shell, you can use PowerShell to upload more files, which you can drop into a shell. So you can use PowerShell to disable antivirus. I have videos on that. I'll leave that link in the description. You can download files from a server. You just have full control over the computer as if it was here right in front of you. You're just controlling it via a terminal. So hopefully you found the video informative. If you did, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe for more content, and as always, have fun, stay safe, keep hacking, and make sure to keep an eye out for the next NXCrypt video. It's going to be 100% FUD undetectable payload. Nothing is going to detect this payload. And if it does, I'll be very surprised, but I've tested it several times on NoDistribute, and no antivirus has been able to detect it. So there's going to be 3 sets of these videos, and then again, of course, you guys can play around with your own Python payloads, and you'll be able to understand this cipher/encoder yourself. So again, hopefully you found the video informative. If you did, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe for more content, and as always, have fun, stay safe, and keep hacking. Peace out.